Oh, you damn right. Let's get you a modcast on a Tuesday. The portal, depending on how you look at it, is either already kind of open or it's about to open. It officially opens tomorrow on the 16th. We're talking to you here on the 15th in the noon hour, and it's about to get really wild. But the Longhorns have added someone in the portal in the last couple of days, if you've missed it. And there's another pretty big name that jumped in the portal this week that we will definitely talk about, and we'll get the guys' thoughts on it. We got Jason Sukumel. We've got Alex Dunlap. Our man Anwar Richardson is taking care of some other business today, so he will not be with us on the modcast. But we do carry that daily and black graphic with us as we do each and every week. Check them out if you need legal assistance, if you need a law firm that's going to be on your side. Daily and Black is the place. Hang on, Jason, I'll fix it for you. There we go. Daily and Black, get you a nice big graphic to look at. Check them out there. You can use the QR code. Remember, it's DALY on Daily and Black. So again, it's the modcast. There's portal stuff to get into. We've already got a super chat in that we'll get to, James. Don't worry about that. So, fellas, since we kind of structured the thumbnail around the running back discussion, I got up this morning and saw the name Jaydn in the transfer portal. A name I kind of recognize. He's not a monster superstar, but been a pretty good back at Cal, and now he's in the portal. For those of you wondering, grad transfer. So that's how he can get in the portal before it technically opens. That's how he's in there. Guys, we're talking about a 1,300-yard back in his sophomore year, 5.3 yards a carry the first couple years. Injuries hit him a little bit last year, but now he's in there. And the discussion, I think, has been among Texas fans, what level of running back, really at any position, but what level of running back might get Sark interested? Jason, let me start with you. Is this the level of running back that you think might get Sark to think about, adding to that room?
Do you want me to be truthful or
of course?
No, I don't think it is, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I'm just kind of I was a little surprised. I thought Texas might target a running back in the portal, but I don't know that they will after hearing Sark talk and just talk up the guys they have in that running back room. I feel like the coaches feel, maybe it's just coach speak, I don't know, but I feel like they believe they've got a pretty healthy room, and especially when CJ Baxter gets back and they've got some depth, they've got some experience. The young guys are flashing. Christian Clark is responded well with his injury. So, I'm looking at his stats, Chad, you mentioned 1,300 yards, 5.3 yards per carry 2 years ago. Last year, really fell off. I don't know what his injuries were last year, but I did read
either. Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I just read it was an injury-plagued season.
He played 10 games.
Yeah, 385 yards and 3.3 yards a carry. Now, I don't know, maybe he's playing at 60% or something, but that just doesn't move the needle for me that much. And I see in the chat, Cody Carpentier says Oklahoma going hard on Ott, and that's what I'm reading too, is Oklahoma might be the team to beat. But,
yeah,
Ott, to me, if Texas was to go after him, was to get him, brought him in, is he going to clearly be your number one back? Is he going to clearly be top two? I don't know the answer to that. So to me, I've heard Sark say, hey, we're not going to take bodies just to take bodies. And listen, Jaydn, maybe he's fully healthy. Maybe he goes to Oklahoma or somewhere and turns in a world beater performance this year. But to me, this just doesn't feel like one where I think Texas is going to make a strong push there. Maybe if the guy reaches out to Texas first, says, hey, I really have an interest, I'd like to come visit, maybe then they entertain it. But otherwise, I just don't know that this is one Sark's going to heavily pursue.
Alex, what are your thoughts on Jaydn Ott?
I'm with Jason. I don't see it. I mean, I don't see him as an upgrade on really. I guess I don't know really what to make out of Ricky Stewart or James Simon just yet, the freshmen who've come in. Haven't seen him enough, but as far as everybody I've seen, I mean, I understand if he was banged up this year, right? I get it. But there are things that with Texas, maybe it fits better at Oklahoma. I don't know what Oklahoma's run concept mix looks like. But if you just look on PFF, I mean, this is a guy that they ran a lot of gap stuff, man gap, stuff like that. He had of his, how many attempts last year? 116 attempts. It was only 40 zone runs. So there were, I guess, like 76 gap runs. It's like Texas is a zone team, man. You want a zone runner for one. Secondly, look, I don't care if it's due to injury, whatever. If he was banged up, I get it. He still should not have been this bad in certain metrics. While I was on PFF, I was looking at the yards after contact and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 219 qualifiers who played at least 20% of 375 rushing snaps, so not counting dudes who just got 10 carries or something like that. Dudes who actually played 20% of the carries. There were 219 of them in college football last year. Where do you think Jaydn ranked out of 219 in yards after contact per attempt?
Worse than 100.
I was going to say, I'm going to guess it's going to be really, really low, or you wouldn't be bringing it up.
so out of 219, he ranked number 219.
Holy cow! Wow.
As far as his
Alex.
He's not a small back either.
As far as his forced missed tackles last year, he had out of that same 219. Do you want to guess where he ranked there? He had 12 forced missed tackles last season.
215.
203. And then as far as his just overall elusive rating, which takes into account the yards after contact per attempt, the forced missed tackles, the breakaway run percentage, the designed runs of over 15 plus yards, etc. I'm not going to ask the question again, but he ranked 219 out of 219 in their elusive rating. So it's like to me, this look, maybe he was hurt, whatever, or it could be that he's degraded from what he originally was, right? But I feel like whenever Sark says we're not just going to bring in a body, this guy, based on that and based on what I went and watched just today, and admittedly, what I did watch today was from 2024, right? But based on that, that's the epitome of bringing in a body.
Can I just say that I never thought I would see the day when Alex is citing a bunch of PFF stats on the podcast?
Yeah. I only hate him when it comes to Texas players because I know it's that weird thing, right? I forget what this thing is called. It's this weird thing that people have, and it's where it's like, and I just committed it. And everybody's used to doing it, but it's like if there's something that you're kind of an expert on, and there's a name for this thing. Some in the chat might know it.
Confirmation bias?
No, it's something like it has something to do with a newspaper, amnesia, some kind of amnesia. Okay. And what it is you'll be reading something in the newspaper, but like let's say you know everything about like beekeeping, right? And you read something in the newspaper where it's like you're reading this article and you're like, dude, this author knows nothing about beekeeping. It's like, what is he even talking about? He's talking about the process is all wrong. This isn't how it works. This isn't how the queen excluder works whenever you're trying to, with the brooding. And you're just like, he's got nothing right. And so the next day you open up the newspaper and there's something that you don't know about, some conflict in a foreign country, and you open it up, you read it, and it's the same newspaper that got all that stuff wrong that you're an expert about, but you're like, oh well, this all must be right. It's like I just did it with PFF because I always say that they're so wrong about the Texas guys, and then I just quoted them for some other team,
and then you turned it around on some of the basic numbers. It is weird because you can look at those previous 2 years of the freshman and sophomore year for Jaydn, 5.3 a carry. And you can say, well, that's better than Wisner was last year. It's better than Gibson was last year. That would be, but then to Alex's point, man, that whatever last year was to fall off 2 yards per carry down to 3.3, just that basic is enough to maybe scare you off.
He's a really good receiver. So
It's called Gell-Mann amnesia is the thing I was trying to think of.
I have never heard of that. Gell-Mann amnesia?
I have Gell-Mann amnesia about Gell-Mann amnesia. I'm going to trust Alex. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Gell-Mann amnesia effect. Interesting. All right. Look, Cody Carpentier helping out.
Big brain on Cody in there in the chat, huh?
Look at Cody. Look at that, Cody. Oklahoma was mentioned. I also saw Colorado, USC, UCLA, Tennessee in the discussion of Jaydn Ott and where he could end up. So maybe keep an eye on that one. But Jason, to your point, the other day when Sark was asked about the portal, he specifically mentioned wide receiver. He specifically mentioned tight end, and he specifically mentioned D-line and talked about the numbers at each one. But then the reporting I know that you guys have heard, on Orange Bloods and from the sources following the team is they really do like this group of running backs that they have. Now it's 2 freshmen, it's 2 second-year guys, one coming off an injury, and it's Wisner and it's Baxter coming off an injury. So, but I mean, if they dig that group, then what, I keep asking myself, what's it gonna take to get them to really look? If Jaheim White from West Virginia ducks into the portal, is that enough of a guy with the connections and his performance to get him to look, or are they just going to stand pat here?
Yeah, that one feels a little different, and Chad Scott would probably stand on the table for Jaheim White also. So I think they'd take a look there, but that's a very unique circumstance, right? So I'm expecting them to just kind of hold where they're at. I think they're happy with those guys, including the young guys. Maybe if Christian Clark wasn't so miraculously far along in his recovery, things might look a little different. Wisner, I know he had his struggles in the last few games, but they're also playing some really good defenses the last few games. Wisner was a very productive and good back last year. I mean, he was the number 1 tailback for Texas, beat out a guy, Jaydn Blue, who, is going to be in the draft here pretty soon. So, they've got it. They don't have the Bijan Robinson. I get it. They don't have what Jonathan Brooks became, but it's a room with some talent and some depth, Chad. I don't think they're going to pursue running back in the portal. And you know what? Who cares? Got Arch, right? None of it matters. We got Arch.
There it is.
I just keep thinking this offensive line may impact the running game a little bit. A revamped offensive line. Maybe tough sledding a little bit more this year in the run game, but you got Arch's legs you can mix in there. Obviously, I just don't think running back is a position of priority, not in the staff's mind. Jaheim White, different story. If he was to jump in, I'm not necessarily expecting that, but I guess, certainly something to always keep an eye on, right?
Well, here's the thing. If he does jump in, it means Texas wanted him.
You'd think, right? Yeah. You'd think it'd be a done deal, right, Alex?
Yeah, probably.
He might commit without even taking a visit if he jumps in.
Alex, I'm glad you said that. That was my thought on Jaydn Ott too. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, why would a guy wake up on a Monday as a grad transfer and jump in the portal unless he knew where he was headed? So I wonder how quickly this is going to go.
Yeah, that probably does go down. Is he from Bishop Gorman? I think I read right in Vegas. Bishop Gorman.
I don't know.
I keep saying he's from California, but for some reason I think maybe he played at Bishop Gorman. And that's a school that is very not very, but they send a lot of players to Oklahoma. Oklahoma recruits that school really well. So people in chat are saying it's a done deal. I don't know that. I haven't followed it that closely, but
it says on his Rivals page that he's from Norco, California.
Yeah, I've seen that, but then I read that for some reason he's got ties. See, that's why I'm confused, Alex. I saw that, but then I read that he played at Bishop Gorman. Maybe he played at Bishop Gorman and then transferred. I don't know what the story is, but if he's got Bishop Gorman ties, Oklahoma does a really good job recruiting that school.
There you go. All right. We'll keep an eye on that. We do have a super chat we will get to. Thanks to those of you jumping in to the Specs chat. Let's give Specs their love first. Here's Lisa to tell you more.
As a Texas family-owned business, we know you don't mess with Texas. And you won't find more ways to raise a glass of Texas-made cheer than right here. So whatever you're planning, we're ready to get you ready. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Shout out to Specs. Thanks to them being a great partner of ours, of course, on the Specs chat for you. James threw a super chat at us. We always say it goes to the top of the list. Doesn't even have to be on the subject we're talking about. $4.99 from James. Shador getting jersey retired for going 13-12 and no bowl wins. Head in the hand.
I saw that. Travis Hunter as well. Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner. You kind of can understand it, but
yeah, I mean, it'd be crazy not to retire Hunters, right?
Yeah, but Shador is a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, you could take a breath. I mean, the guys haven't even gone through the draft yet. We're getting to the draft, coming up. They're going to do it at the spring game. Like, what? Breathe, Dion.
Yeah, but what if somebody wants to wear 12 next year because they want to be just like Hunter?
Say no, but you don't have to retire it. Maybe just take a breath for a second. I mean, did they retire Vince's number at the next spring game?
They probably should have.
Words out of my mouth, Alex. They should have.
Maybe. You're right. Okay, fair enough. Shedeur and Hunter in the same ceremony. Maybe split the ceremonies up a little bit.
It doesn't make sense for Shedeur. It doesn't. But you got to. I think it's.
That just tells you Colorado's not a football school. Like, how many jersey numbers have they retired, if any? I don't know the answer to that, but clearly it's a pretty low bar player. But jersey retiring,
right. There's probably a couple guys on those during the championship.
Yeah,
that team right around 90. Probably a couple of those guys. But James, interesting point there. I did see that. Also, text guy, well done. Hellman amnesia. I can't recall a good meal with mayonnaise. Well done, text guy. Well done. All right, fellas, I also wanted to get your thoughts on the move Texas did make in the portal at receiver. I know you guys have both had a chance to, I think, talk about it on at least one show, but I wanted to get your thoughts here. Emmett Mosley is his name. I think technically it's Emmett Mosley the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to all the Emmett Mosleys out there. But it was a wide receiver at Stanford.
When would the first Emmett Mosley had to have been born?
I mean, that's a long time ago, right?
If you average like what, let's say 30-year-old, you have a kid, 150, 120 years ago, maybe. Yeah.
I've had a couple friends that are Treys and that are, the third in the line. And one of those guys has had a son. Actually, they've both had sons. And one of them literally named for the 4th. So I know someone who's gone that far. I've never known a 5th, though. That's a long time.
I know.
Hey, who's going to be the one that breaks that streak? You feel like a real ass. When you like my buddy, one of my best friends in the world, his name's Homer, and he worked at a nuclear power plant. Don't think we didn't give him shit about that. But Homer Richard Moyers the third. So he only had 2 daughters. He didn't have any boys. But like, I was like, "You're gonna name your kid Homer?" He's like, "You kind of have to. Like, you don't want to be the one to break the streak, right?" So.
Well, and also not to put pressure on Emmett Mosley, but if he ever does get married and starts having kids, if he has a couple daughters, don't you just have to keep? I mean, how many times do you try?
Or could you name it? Well, could you name a daughter Emmett? Why not? I mean, Emmett Mosley the 6th be a girl.
Emmett, and she goes by Emma. I don't know how you do that. Anyway, Emmett Mosley is his name. And by the way, he gets into the portal a slightly different way than Jaydn Ott. Ott is a grad transfer. No rules there. Jump in when you want. But with Mosley, this is the 30-day window off of Stanford getting a new head coach. So just like the defensive end that came to visit Texas and ends up at Texas Tech, Emmett Mosley comes to visit Texas, and he ends up at Texas because he's in that window. So, guys, give me a thought here. He's had 1 year, so you're getting a guy. This will be his second year of experience. Had a pretty good freshman year with 48 catches. Alex, let me start with you here on Mosley. What's your overall reaction at this point?
Yeah, it seems a great ad. I think it reminds me a little bit of the Matthew Golden ad. Just got done really quick. Seemed like it was straightforward. Both teams wanted this thing to happen. What you like about him is a freshman breakout, which is good. I mean, he had it by the statistical standards. He had what we would consider a breakout season as a true freshman, which is always very telling. It's very informative regarding future success, and he did so with that quarterback number 14 for Stanford stinks.
That was a bad offense overall. Yeah. He
also had Nico Iamaleava on the other side, or not on the other side, because this was a player that played almost 70% of his snaps out of the slot. But he had Nico Iamaleava on that offense. He's going to have probably day 2 draft capital this year as far as the NFL draft. A different kind of player than Mosley. Iamaleava is one of these guys that not quite the separator, more of a contested catch guy. Whereas Mosley just really good with his choice routes out of the slot. Give the guy a 2-way go. He's got really, really good feet. Reminds me a little, if you watch back the Louisville game where he goes off for 13 catches and however many yards and 3 touchdowns. That's another thing. He been better throughout the whole course of the season, right? If you watch that Louisville game, you think to yourself, this looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is a dominant volume kind of slot wide receiver here who doesn't really have the long speed, but gritty over the middle, finds ways to get open, good at exploiting soft spots in the zone. But again, a guy who I think probably runs about a 4.54. So on one side of the coin, you can look at the Louisville game. On the other side of the coin, you can look at the Houston game. If you watch the Houston game, there's some contested catch stuff that sort of comes up there. There was not bad as far as drops on the entire season, 4 drops on the entire season, but as he was mentioning, 3 of those came in one game where it was just kind of it felt real weird. But you like the progression through the course of the season. By the end of the year, he's a giant part of the offense. Again, young breakout age. The yards per route run, not really that great, but he was operating, a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. He's the kind of guy that you just like to get the ball in his hands. A chain mover. I believe 23 of his catches last year went for first downs. That's almost half of the catches that he had. So, dependable in that kind of situation. My main thing with him is, I look at him and I see a slot wide receiver. And if I'm right about what his long speed is, and I could be wrong because I misjudged Matthew Golden's long speed, but I did know that coming in that Dana Holgorsen said the same thing that I thought, that this looks like a Z wide receiver, right? Like that's what Dana Holgorsen said. He's your prototype Z wide receiver, right? I don't look at Mosley and think that he can be some kind of super speedy stretch flanker that can go over there and run with the same speed as guys like Livingstone and guys like Aaron Butler and these types of these guys are, say what you will about them, but these guys are speed weapons. This guy's not so much of that as he is just like elite change of direction, really good dynamism in close areas and stuff like that. I'll bet he runs a really fast 3-cone. This kind of player, right? So I just wonder, with the fact that Texas only has a slot wide receiver on the field for half the time, you have DeAndre Moore playing there. Mm-hmm. He played during the regular season basically only at slot. Played a look. Cody's pointing out on our show yesterday, towards the end of the season down the stretch when Isaiah Bond was missing time, they did play DeAndre Moore outside a little bit more often, sometimes up to like 18 routes per game on the outside. And also that Louisville game, whenever Mosley had the big game, he did technically play on the outside for more routes than he played in the slot. With that being said, a lot of those came in 2 tight end sets where he was technically the outside guy, but still operating in that same area of the field where the slot is. So I see him as a slot wide receiver. I don't know what it means for DeAndre Moore. Might they use DeAndre Moore more outside? And look, I know people think that I'm just look. It's true. I'm a big Parker Livingstone fan. I think that he's going to be good, right? I think that the built-in connection with Arch is going to be very helpful. I think he's a size speed weapon. I think he's looked good every time. Like, how many reports do we need to hear about the guy to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, right? But there are
literally, Alex, every time I've checked for a practice nuggets, his name has come up every single time.
It just really does. And it feels, it's almost like you feel, people probably feel like by now that we're giving like his agent or something is our source. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't even know if he has an agent.
Yeah. I don't know if he has an agent. He probably doesn't. But it's, you just hear it. And I'm just thinking to myself, it's not just because I like Parker and I think he's a good player for me to say, I'm not sure this is the type of guy that if you're saying we got to get an upgrade on Livingstone, if somebody says that, right? Like, we feel good about Wingo. We feel good about DeAndre Moore. We'd like to have some kind of insurance for Livingstone. I would agree that probably, having competition there besides Butler and Lockett and Livingstone could be worthwhile. I'm just not sure if I see this player as being that kind of player. And I wonder if they play, they work Mosley more out of the slot. And what if we see DeAndre Moore getting moved around and stuff? I mean, DeAndre Moore, I thought he showed off plenty of speed last season.
Yeah, Jason, before I get some of your thoughts, just to compare, Moore last year, 39 catches for a little over 450, 48 catches for Mosley, 525. They both had about the same number of touchdowns. What was your what's your thought on Mosley getting to maybe watch a little film? I'm not sure how much you were crushing Stanford games last year. I know I had to catch up a little bit. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I didn't watch Stanford much, but I did watch his film. Linked in the commitment story, but I pretty much agree with everything Alex was saying. I was like, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. But looks like a good kind of change of direction guy, can work well in space. I don't know he's a guy that's going to stretch the field. He looks to me like a guy that's going to be more better suited to work out of the slots, but who knows, man? Like Alex said, maybe Moore then plays outside a little more. Maybe they got sarcasm tricks up his sleeves with different personnel packages. But I love the production. As Alex said, I love that he got better as the season went on, finished the season on a high note. I love the fact that he's a sophomore. He's got at least 2 years in Austin. Mm-hmm. Okay, barring unless he decides to transfer or something. But I mean, you might have this guy for 2-3 years. I tell you what, he's not as athletic as Isaiah Bond. He's not as athletic as Matthew Golden. None of us knew how athletic Matthew Golden was when he came in, right? We're all like kind of taken aback at what he did at the combine and stuff. He kind of reminds me a little bit of what I thought Matthew Golden was when Texas got him out of Houston. Now, Golden, as we know, has gone on to do some pretty amazing things. But love the productivity. I'm just curious, like, who's he going to take snaps away? Does it give you some insurance maybe behind DeAndre Moore? Yeah, but Dalen McCutcheon's also had a really good spring. So, I don't know. I'll be curious to see where he kind of slots in and what position. And is he an outside guy? Is he going to be a combo guy that does some outside stuff, some in the slot? I don't know exactly how they're going to make it fit, but I do know if they take another receiver, I would assume it'll be exclusively a guy that can play on the outside, stretch the field for you. I don't know that Emmett Mosley is that guy. Maybe he can be. Maybe he's more Matthew Golden than I anticipate. But I think it's a really good pickup just from a productivity or reliability. Gives you a little bit more experience, a little bit more depth that Texas needs. They need some depth with guys who have actually college experience. So I really like to pick up. I like that he's a multi-year guy for the Longhorns. I think that's a good first pickup for Texas. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to see him still go out and get one more receiver out of the portal.
Yeah, Emmett Mosley. We'll talk about kind of what those next steps might be. If y'all want to jump in the chat, feel free. Super chats will go right to the top. We're creeping up towards 500 folks in the Specs chat. We do appreciate you guys jumping in. Also, we appreciate all of our great partners around here, including sinus and snoring specialists. Y'all know I love talking about them because they've helped me so much since 2017. In fact, I just passed the anniversary of when I went into sinus and snoring and started the procedure and stuff. It was 2017. It was late March. And I've just been feeling better and better ever since, sleeping better, resting better. And one of the things I experienced, just like my wife did, just like a good friend of mine did, was when you get stuff figured out, you realize, oh, I'm not waking up and going to the bathroom multiple times during the night. Why is one of the reasons that you'll do that? Obviously, if you drink a whole lot before you go to bed, we all know that can happen. But also, if you stop breathing at night, your body has to work harder. I never thought about that till somebody that was talking to my wife about a CPAP machine. She said, yeah, you'll rest better because your kidneys aren't going to have to work as hard. Something to think about. It's something I hadn't really considered, but that part is so much better. I sleep through the night. That's incredible. Breathe better during the day. That's obviously great. I don't have to worry about allergies or sinus headaches or any of those things that I dealt with. They can help you with so much, and they have a lot of different options that other places just don't have. So go check them out. Meet Dr. Slaughter in that first consultation. Get your process started. You will be impressed. SinusSnoringENT.com or just call 601-0303. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. You can also securely text that number. Get it set up. Get it taken care of. Sinus and snoring specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. Most important thing you can be at any time is healthy. Longhorns trying to make that roster a little more healthy with the transfer portal.
Chad, can I say one thing about Emmett Mosley? I'm sorry, before we transition.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, as a recruit, he was a 4-star guy. He wasn't in the Rivals 250 or anything. But look at some of the offers I want to tell you about. So I think maybe as a freshman overplayed expectations a little bit, but he wasn't some slouch recruit that just came out of nowhere. I mean, he had offers from Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas A&M, USC, Washington, obviously Stanford, and guess who else offered him? Chris Jackson at Texas.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, this guy is he's a highly sought after guy coming out of high school. Maybe a little bit under the radar, but when I look at that and I say, okay, look what he did at Stanford in year one, maybe it shouldn't be such a surprise how productive he was.
It's a good point. And a previous relationship a little bit there, assuming.
And I saw it, like I was down on campus. I said this on Allmore show this morning, but I was down on campus watching, talking to recruits and everything all day Saturday. And I saw Emmett Mosley come out with Chris Jackson and some other guys. And it just, you can just kind of see like body language and just, okay, this thing looks like it's going really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't necessarily have Monday afternoon commitment on my radar, but I guess we shouldn't be too surprised that it moved pretty quickly.
Yeah. Real quick question from Big Cheddar, because we talked about the running backs. Where is he from? Is he
Rancho Santa Margarita, California?
Okay. He is another
he's got a brother who's a wide receiver who's committed to USC. So somebody asked me, like, hey, might Texas try to make – he's in the 2026 class. Might Texas try to make a run there? And I was like, yeah, I don't know the answer to that yet, but it's something to kind of file away and keep an eye on for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on all that. Portals are going to open tomorrow for 10 days, and we'll see what happens there. Texas has already started a little bit here with a portal because of the Stanford extra window on the head coaching situation. Jason, you made a great point earlier, and it's kind of where I was thinking next, because sometimes you can see a move like this, and Alex was working through it about slot receiver and where would it fit in, how does it affect DeAndre Moore, but obviously the next thing is going to be, is this the move at wide receiver, or is this a move at wide receiver? We've been having that discussion for a couple weeks now, at least, of how many, like, are they going into the portal? Now we know that answer is yes for sure. Sark had already said it, but we've talked about that room also knew that it was probably happening. Now that question is there another step in that room? And does Emmett Mosley lead you one way or the other into saying, okay, this feels like the first of a few steps, or does it feel like a step all by itself? It sounds like what we're saying here is that it feels like it might be a step that leads us somewhere else with receiver. Is that fair?
Not necessarily. I think they do have confidence in these young guys that are on the roster, despite their young and unproven. But I mean, the answer to that, we might not know until we see who's in the portal starting tomorrow. Right now, I would think that if Texas is thinking about taking a second receiver, they've probably already had some feelers or people reaching out to them. So they might have an idea of who's going to enter into the portal already. But I haven't heard of any names, of other than Mosley as a possible addition. I'm just thinking, hey, if you got a good player, if you have a Matthew Golden out there or an Isaiah Bond or but Adonai Mitchell, you're not going to turn that dude down. If someone like that enters a portal, you're going to dip your toe in the water and see if he's interested in connecting. So will they? I don't know the answer, Chad, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out that they would take a second receiver.
So let's check in with the president of the Parker Livingstone fan club, Alex, based on how it could be structured. And you were discussing it earlier, but do you think a guy like Mosley, with how they could shuffle it around, it could be, all right, that's the move and we move on? Or to the point Jason made earlier, do you think another move on the outside, at an outside position, would make sense for them if it's the right guy?
We'd heard from the very beginning of this process that Texas was going to be going after a slot wide receiver in the transfer portal, the spring transfer portal, right? And so that had always been part of my assumption. Part of my line of thinking coming into this was like, outside of that, okay, the question that you just raised, is there anything, is there another need, or could there be some sort of artificial need that was perceived just because it's felt thin during spring with no Wingo and no DeAndre Moore, right? But you're getting those guys back. They're not hurt bad. Right. So could that lead to them maybe making a kind of more of a permanent move based on that temporary issue, right? And I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, well, we're gonna find out what they think about how these, like how French's look. Jamie French has had to be with the first group. You know what I mean? It's kind of sink or swim time for him and for Lockett and for Terry. Like these guys are having to play a lot, right? Mm-hmm. I think that more than us just guessing about what they would need or how they're gonna. They can't lie to. I always say, man, like in the NFL, like the NFL draft, I love the NFL draft so much because it's the one time that an NFL team can't lie to you. Mm-hmm. They're taking the guy that they want. They're not gonna. They're not trying to throw the media off the scent by taking some guy that they don't want or that they don't feel like can help them. The transfer portal. There's a time when the staff they can't lie to us. Like their intentions. If they go out and they get a guy that profiles as a stretch Z flanker, they're going to say like, well, we're not really that sure whether or not Parker Livingstone and Aaron Butler and Khalil Lockett are ready to platoon this thing for us this next year. You know what I mean? So to me, for me to, I don't know if they need them. I've not been allowed to any practice except the first one. You know, based on what we've heard, people think these guys look good, but the way that they feel is going to be easily telegraphed to us. If they go out and they go hard, like we're going to be like, okay, well, maybe these young guys aren't quite where they would like them to be just yet if they're having to go to war right now. Yeah, it doesn't mean that they never will, but it's like that. But if they stand pat and they just go with the original plan, since February. It's been we need a slot wide receiver in the portal. Then through spring we'll figure out where else we're at if we need others. Right? We're about to find out. I would like to think that when you recruit a bunch of 4 and 5 stars, you know, across your whole roster, that eventually you can maybe be more like an Ohio State, and just next thing you know, you have a Carnell Tate. The next thing you know, you have a Jeremiah Smith, and like it's you know what I mean. That I think that's the goal, right?
Real quick off of this chat, because Sailor Joe may have misheard something. It says Wingo not an outside receiver. Wingo would be an outside receiver, correct?
Oh yes,
right. So just thank you, Sailor Joe. Just to clarify, yes, Wingo is an outside guy. Because my simplistic way of looking at this, fellas, would be we know what you have coming back with experience. The two guys that'll, you know, the injuries aren't serious, like Alex said. And then now you're adding Emmett Mosley. So my logic would be, all right, well, come up with an idea where they're all on the field at the same time. I mean, is that crazy? Mosley, Wingo, Moore. Can they all go out there at the same time? Like, can we conceive of an offense where they could all be out there if that's what you needed? I mean, they have the most experience right now, the most catches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've played more. They've played more, like I said, up to like 18 snaps in a game on the outside down the stretch last season.
Right. So you could put Mosley in the slot and Wingo and why am I
Moore
lost the name? And Wingo and Moore on the outside.
Yeah, if you needed to. If you got through this spring period and you're like, man, we're not ready to go into fall with Parker or Butler or one of these guys. I mean, right now it feels like it would certainly be Parker.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. So if you're like, we can't go into fall with that being the case, they're gonna make a move. If they don't make a move, they feel fine.
Yeah, and you got and Jason, it's interesting. There's an insurance quality to Mosley in that if the DeAndre Moore injury lingers a little longer, he can play slot. But then to the point we've been making, if everybody's healthy, you've got an option to move Moore, which you've already done a little bit of, and then Mosley's in the slot. So it's almost, you can kind of cover it multiple ways.
Yeah, you know, I actually thought about that. He is kind of an insurance policy. And I hate saying that because it's like, oh, it makes it sound like, oh, he's kind of a backup. And I don't know that's what Mosley is being brought in for. But, you know, what it gives you, and Sark has said, like, hey, they want to be able to rotate guys and play young guys and keep guys fresh for games 13, 14, 15 in the season. So this gives you an opportunity. It gives you some insurance and some depth. but it also gives you an opportunity to kind of rotate guys, keep guys fresh. Maybe their snap counts are down a little bit, but it keeps them fresh towards the tail end of the season. I mean, bottom line, man, you're just trying to stockpile talent. Emmett Mosley's a talented player. Those young guys are talented players. I think they can all contribute. I mean, these guys Texas is bringing in as young receivers, the redshirt freshmen, the freshmen. Those guys are capable players. Matt, how are the snap distributions going to wind up going? I don't know. Is Jamie French going to get a bunch of snaps, or is it going to be Parker? Is Khalil Lockett going to make a move at some point? McCutcheon, Emmett Mosley. I don't know how they'll be distributed, Chad, but it gives you, what we've seen in Sark's first couple of years. It was like 3 receivers, and that was pretty much it, right? Well, I think they're trying to get past that. They want to have 6, 7 guys they can legitimately count on. Emmett Mosley kind of fits into that pool of 6 or 7, and we'll see. Obviously Wingo is going to be one. DeAndre Moore. I think Parker will be one. We'll see who the other couple guys that they feel like they can count on to get them to 6 or 7 dependable receivers.
Well, and obviously,
it feels like French will be one.
I think so, Alex, and I think McCutcheon will be one too.
If you guys want to jump in the specs chat, we appreciate you heading up towards 600 folks in there right now. Also, we want to make sure we mention Hijack Poker. Texas Card House brings you House Divided during the week, and they also bring you Hijack Poker. Hit hijackpoker.com, put that app on any device you want, and you can play online poker in the state of Texas. You got to be in Texas to do this. You can also deposit and cash out at one of their 6 Texas Card House locations. There's also easy ways to deposit other than that, and you could end up at a virtual table with Jeff Ketchum or Alex Dunlap or any number of folks. A lot of Orange Bloods folks on there. Our man Tom G is at Hijack Poker a lot, so go check that out. Maybe not a lot, Tom. I don't want to dime you out that way. I know you play a little bit, so go check them out. hijackpoker.com. If you want to throw in comments on the portal, we will definitely take the comments here, like maybe this one. We need 2 more wide receivers from the portal just so Chad will have this season's Bond Golden Bolden group name. Maybe. We might need that. See, we got Mosley. We can add something to that. Mosley's a good name to add. So, guys, the portal's going to open tomorrow. We're sitting here on Tuesday. It opens on Wednesday. And we've been talking specifically about, there was the question about running back. Maybe that room is, maybe not part of the discussion. And then we talked to receiver. We know they've added Mosley. So for you guys tomorrow, Sark walks in the building. And let's say there's, every coach that we would think of is sitting at a computer waiting to tell him who's in the portal at a position. Sark walks in. What's the first position out of his mouth? Tell me about blank. Jason, I'm going to start with you.
Jeff Banks, what tight ends are in the portal?
Okay, tight end immediately. Alex, would you agree?
I can only tell you what I would do. Because Stark always does stuff that I wouldn't do. It's probably good. It's probably smart. But I'd say any defensive tackles, any nose tackles. What do we have here? Like, let's go in there, sort by position. Go down to D, look for DT, DL, stuff like that. Tell me who all's in there.
Okay. Go D tackle. Tight end's been mentioned. Those are the 3. Now, if you take him at his word, clearly we can take him at his word at wide receiver. He's already added 1. You do wonder if maybe those next 2 positions, since he did mention the numbers being down at those 2 positions, is it D tackle or D tackle / D line, since they did bring in an edge, or tight end. So we'll see. Tomorrow is when it all starts. I guess it's midnight tonight when everything cranks up. But we'll be.
I will not be staying up till midnight to track portal entries, guys. I got
no.
No.
You're just gonna wake up. You're gonna do what we're all gonna do for 10 days. Wake up and see who jumped in the portal.
Check my Twitter feed, take my kids to school, and I'll sit down on the computer and get going there.
Yeah. And we obviously learned, guys, in the last few days that there's gonna be a name in this portal nobody saw coming, and that's Nico Iamaleava. It's 6 sounds.
Iamaleava.
Right? Iamaleava. Yes. Somebody else has to learn how to pronounce his name in a different color because he's going to be moving on.
Dude, so what, can I ask you all this? is he gonna get? Is he gonna? He's talking to like Tulane and UCLA and stuff. I know that UNC is the best odds, and they have some money. Is this gonna serve as a cautionary tale to people? Like, do you think he might have to take less than he was even getting at Tennessee at this point?
I would think he would have to.
Tulane's not going to say, "All right, here's your $4 million."
Well, and to your point, is there any way at this point North Carolina can come up with whatever money Tennessee was going to give him?
They were going to give him between 2.4 and 2.7 million.
Like, can Belichick produce 2.7 in Chapel Hill right now?
I think it's going to be something where it's going to come out and like, look, I don't, that guy's going to be the kind of like, whether deserve or not, he's going to be a little bit of the kind of like the, wrestling. I don't know it, but kind of like the bad Hulk Hogan, whenever he was kind of like the bad guy for a while, like
right, put the black coloring in. Yeah.
People are going to be like, they're going to see him as the face of sort of, and I think it's wrong, but they're going to see him as the face of, the things that are changing about college football that they feel icky about and that they don't really like, when it's not, I mean, it wasn't, he didn't make the rules. He didn't make this thing so messed up like this, it's
or lack of rules.
Yeah.
Alex,
and
that's the other thing. Like there's no guardrails is the way Saban's always said it, but there's certain things that didn't protect Tennessee and him that should be in place.
And then the other thing is I remember being 19, 20 years old and stuff like that. You're starting to be a grown man, but you still, your dad tells you to do something and you do what your old man says.
Yeah. I know what I mean? Truth to that, Alex. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I don't know.
Dad's driving this train. I think it was a bad decision, but you know what? Maybe this fiasco is what we needed to kind of get some guardrails put in place. They got to put some kind of rules and regulations on this. I mean,
all of the Power Four commissioners were all they were all in Washington D.C. these last couple of days, and this happened at an interesting time to where maybe they can, maybe that's when something can happen is whenever it's kind of brought into light like this and people get real tilted, and maybe that could spur some action to get something done to where it's it's just a little easier to navigate.
Yeah. Can you imagine if he did have to go to, and I don't think this will happen. I think it's going to be UCLA or maybe North Carolina. But if you had to go to Tulane, man, you talk about having to swallow your pride, right? I mean,
especially when it comes out
UCLA or North Carolina. I mean,
especially when it comes out that he's only making $1 million or something.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be absolutely crazy. Real quick super chat here. Sailor Joe jumping back in. $2 super chat. Nico, peak of this week or one more chaos?
No, this is the peak. This has been like the peak of the decade, dude. It's like this is not gonna be like this is gonna change. It's bringing attention to the. It's not going to change college football was going to change. It's going to continue to change and evolve. And this isn't going to be the thing that changed it. But I feel like this is the thing that brought it into the national consciousness and really just made people think about like, dude, really? It's like I've been willing to kind of hold my nose and say, you guys take care of that behind closed. I always say about it I talk about it on Football with Friends. I say, this is like the couple in your neighborhood that's arguing behind closed doors. You might know that they're kind of arguing, but you're just like, well, whatever. They keep it, but they're doing it in front of everybody at the party, and they're calling each other names and dragging up all the stuff. You do this, and you ever do the dishes, or and it's like now it's in front of everybody, and you're like, man, like I can't even shield my eyes to this and pretend it doesn't even exist anymore. I've always felt this kind of icky now that all these dudes are, they're negotiating new 1-year deals, and it's like every year you're a free agent, like it's the NFL, and the loyalty to the school and stuff doesn't matter as much anymore, and all that stuff. And you can just kind of put it off in your mind because it's not right there in front of your face. This puts it right in front of your face, and it's like I think it's kind of if not opens people's eyes, just made them feel just like something should probably be done about all this.
Yeah.
So I don't think
there's one that's going to exceed, right? I don't think hopefully there's not one that's going to get bigger than that. By the way, I did just peek since you guys mentioned Tulane. Tulane does not play Tennessee this year. They go to Ole Miss though, just to let you know. That might be interesting. Nico in Tulane gear going to Oxford. kind of weird. Also, somebody give us a little update. Maybe Blake said UNC already said they were out. They're going after the South Alabama quarterback.
It's going to be Tulane or something. I'm telling you, man.
First off, I wouldn't believe anything that they say right now. I mean,
yeah,
it's all posturing right now. I think it's going to be UCLA. I think he goes back west out home. But you know, again, you go to UCLA, you're playing in front of what, 20,000 people. I mean, it's like,
at least it would have more name to it than Tulane, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty shitty football environment.
You're not in a great part of the Big Ten right now, but at least you're in the Big Ten, and your uniform feels like it kind of matters versus Tulane.
You're gonna have to get half your money taken away by California state taxes. It's much more like the taxes are worse. It's like he's gonna lose money in this thing.
But the other thing, Alex, it's a great point, because the other thing that maybe Mr. I did not think about, they're trapped and can't go to 15 schools that matter.
Mm-hmm.
They can't go to any SEC school because of that rule. And I just wonder, where along the line did the dad or Nico or somebody be, well, you know, I could always go to, and then they tried to follow it up with an SEC school. Hey, what about so-and-so? Could we call? No, you can't. You can't call Auburn and say, hey, I think I'm better than Jackson Arnold.
They just overplayed their hand. I mean, in Tennessee, to their credit, and I'm glad they did it. They called their bluff and said, hit the bricks, dude, and like see how it works out for you. And I'm glad they did. I mean, I don't know Nico. I have nothing against him, but I mean, these players, I mean, it's getting out of control, dude, the power they think they have. And I'm glad Tennessee stood its ground, and, you know, it's going to bite Nico in the ass. But I think Oscar has a very good point right here.
Yeah, $9.99 from Oscar. Thank you, Oscar. Nico's reps, his dad, need to come out and take the blame. Letting your son take all this heat because you wanted him to make $1 million more is cruel and shameful.
Couldn't agree more, Oscar. And then the dad shits on I think it's On 3 reporter, who was, of course, ended up being accurate not even 24 hours later. I forget what he called him, like fraud or whatever. I don't remember. But,
yeah.
You know, it's a pretty unnecessary.
He called him a BIT.
I was going to say he called him a B word.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, that dad just comes off really bad on all levels of this. I mean, Nico was making, like Alex said, I think it was like 2.4 mil per year, I believe. I don't think that was a one. Like, dude, you're 19 years old, or your son that's not enough money for you. And then he's going to have NFL money. I mean, the way things are progressing, I mean, how greedy can one person get? And it bit him in the ass. And I'm kind of glad it is. Not so much for Nico. I don't know Nico, but his dad, I feel like, was driving a lot of this and just made some really poor, greedy decisions. And it's going to cost them quite a bit of money and a lot of egg on their face.
Yeah. And Oscar, thank you for that super chat. I also brought up this technical point yesterday on a show. I'll bring it up here. Technically, Nico could go into the portal tomorrow and ultimately come back to Tennessee. He could decide he's coming back to Tennessee today.
Hey, I'll take a $2 million flat.
Right? Exactly. If everybody
do you think that you can do that?
I mean, again,
Tennessee take you.
It's only on a technical level, Alex. I think enough damage has been done here. I think if they could have fixed it, they would have, and they should have, by the way. I don't know how Heupel, the dad, let's say it's Heupel and the dad and big money donors, and that's really what it was about. How they couldn't figure that out, I don't understand. Unless, to Jason's point, if he was really asking for like an extra 2, like if they were already at 2.5 and he's like, well, we're going to need 2 more. Like maybe that's where Heupel had to say, man, I can't, No,
but but can you put the toothpaste back in the tube?
I don't think so.
Well, like I say, you'd have to walk in there with your tail tucked between your legs. And
even with that being the case, I think that then
fans
not
will
only does Nico have to
you.
do it, then Heupel's got to go with his tail tucked behind his legs back to the AD and back to the donors and say like, oh, the stuff we said about Nico. It's like, man, it's like.
Well, and that's the other part we don't know yet, fellas, is I'm going to keep asking it till I hear a good answer. Did Heupel pull this trigger before he talked to big money donors or after? Did he go to them with a demand and say, man, this is what the kid wants? Or did he actually get a call from Dan Lanning and other coaches and it pissed him off and he made the choice? He didn't call like some big donor in a bright orange jacket sitting out on a lake. He didn't do any of that. And maybe he didn't even ask his AD. Maybe he just said, that's it. The kid's out. We can't do it. Like that part of it, I wonder. because if I'm a big money donor at Tennessee, I'd be calling Heupel right after this went down and said, "Why didn't you call me?"
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Well, maybe we find that part out. Maybe we don't. But between the money and all this, it's such a horrible look for Tennessee, and it's bad look for the kid too.
I don't think it is, honestly. I think it's a bad look for the kid.
I think it's both, Jason, because you can't. In the end, you got to figure out a way to make that work. But hey, I don't know. Again, if he was asking for $4 or $5 million, maybe that is where you dig your heels in and say we can't do it.
He should have beat Carson Beck to the punch and transferred to Miami. That's what he should have done.
They've got NIL money.
Exactly.
They would be ready to roll.
Taking his $4 million down.
No, man. I mean, it's being reported that he tried to. He tried to hold out before the Ohio State game.
Yeah, that's been rumored. Yeah.
Ooh,
the CFP saying no, man, the deal was for 12 games. It's not for this playoff stuff. I need more money. I was it's at that point it starts feeling like it. It's like what? Like if you're talking, what did you throw? 19 touchdowns last year?
Yeah, 19 and 5 picks. Yeah. And every time we bring up Nico and numbers and stuff, people also will rightly point out that Tennessee defense had a year.
And Dylan Sampson had a year, right?
Yeah, the man did not put up 55 a game. I mean, he had moments, but we all know he was inconsistent. At times that offense got stuck in the mud.
You tell me that team won because of Nico Iamaleava?
No,
he's not a win because of him quarterback. He's a win. He's been a win with him quarterback.
Exactly. They found a way to make it work at times, and then he was going to need to take some steps. Now the question just for him is, does he get to take those steps? Does he really get to develop now that all this is going on? It's got to be a wild time for him, especially if his dad kind of forced this on him. If his dad forced him to not go to practice, if his dad forced the discussion, maybe he didn't even know about it. And now it's like, hey, we're going to find you a new place to play. That's rough. That's rough if he really wasn't absolutely in on it. Hopefully he was, because then you'd hate to have it be just taken out from under you. If you guys want to jump in the chat, please do. Super chats will go right to the top. We thank you for jumping in today. Portal talk all over the place. Texas gets Emmett Mosley, the receiver from Stanford, out of the portal. And we also mentioned Jaydn Ott, the running back at Cal, grad transfer. He gets into the portal, and Oklahoma is one of the schools that's being talked about. And we threw out the discussion of, might Texas be interested in a guy like Jaydn Ott? Sounds like Alex, Jason, maybe thinking it's probably not something that Sark will look at. He certainly likes his running back room, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Before we get out of here, let me hit one more of our great partners, and it is Hayes City Store. You guys have heard me talk about it. This weather that's going on right now, get on out to Hayes City. It's just incredible. Whether you go daytime or you go nighttime, I've been showing the nighttime shot I got of the great tree out there, and it's more than one, but this is that main big tree they've got out there. They throw the lights on it for nighttime stuff. This is when we were out there for a concert. It's so much fun heading out there. So get on out to Driftwood. I always say, be sure you're not in a hurry when you head out to Hayes City Store. Just have yourself a good, relaxing time. The food is amazing. Start with the home run dip. Have one of those pork chops I always talk about, or the incredible pizza, or one of their amazing burgers. One of our listeners and viewers checked out that bacon jam burger recently. That's a huge hit out there. The drinks are incredible. The desserts are some of the best I've had. If I haven't said it in a while, key lime pie, people, this is the best key lime pie I've ever had, ever. I've had some really good key lime pie in my life. This is the best, most consistent piece of key lime pie I ever have. Go out and check it out. You tell me if I'm wrong. Hayes City Store out in Driftwood. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. Travis, Tamara, and the crew, they are Longhorn folk through and through, and they're always following Texas stuff and following what we're doing as well. We appreciate them for that, and we appreciate you guys jumping in today for the Modcast. Let me scan for any super chats here. Fellas, anything else we need to hit portal-wise before we duck out? Y'all good? Okay, real quick here. I'll throw a couple quick ones. Jason. Wait, Jason's done.
I guess Jason just said he said
How
nope.
about that? Jason just said eject cord. All right. Well, I meant to give these to just Alex then. Well, that was wild. How about this one? Buy or sell. There's one more wide receiver and a tight end to come in the portal. So in addition to Mosley.
I'll sell. But it's a crying sell. It's not it's not. I don't have much confidence in it. I'll sell though. I think that they add a tight end. I'll say that they elect not to add a wide receiver.
Okay. Apparently Jason did not mean to just leave us abruptly. He is back. Jason, buy or sell. There's one more wide receiver and a tight end to come in the portal.
I'm going to pretend that my internet just crashed and not embarrass myself and saying I closed the wrong tab. Okay. So yeah, my internet crashed for 5 seconds.
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
One more wide receiver and a tight end. I'm going to sell like Alex.
Okay.
No, I'm saying I have performance issues, so I hope I'm coming through clearly. But yeah, I think tight end, yes. Wide receiver, I'm going to fade that one, so I'm going to sell this.
Gotcha. All right, and the other one, guys, let's just go back to the running back room. Buy or sell. Texas will not get a running back in the portal. Jason.
I'm going to buy that.
Okay.
Just based on Sark's comments this week.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to buy it too. Although I do think, like we mentioned about Jaheim White, I think that's a special circumstance. But I think in the end, they don't add one.
Yeah, and for those that are wondering, I know a lot of and Jason, you can back this up here. I think you were the one that I heard say it. The reporting that we've gotten and the sources that have been talked to at West Virginia, there's not been a feeling that Jaheim White is thinking of the portal, that he really is enjoying West Virginia still. Is that true?
Last I checked, I mean, it's been a minute since I checked, but that was kind of the early word when everybody thought, okay, he's going to for sure follow Chad Scott. There just didn't seem to be much traction there. But hey, you know what? Tomorrow's a new day with the portal window open, Chad, so things can change in a hurry starting tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and by the way, let's get rid of this rumor. Rex, this is not what happened. Jason did not hit the transfer portal and headed to Texags. That is not true.
That's definitely not. I would not be welcome over there.
It's not true. He ejected, but he did not mean to earlier. So, yeah, we'll see if maybe some people do that in the portal. All right, thank you guys for liking, subscribing, getting the notifications. Remember, if you didn't like on the way in, go ahead and like on the way out. Football with Friends coming up at 6 this evening. That's Alex, of course, with Cody Carpentier. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., the old-fashioned, unfortunately, Anwar was unable to join us this week for the modcast, but check out the old-fashioned tomorrow morning. I know he and Jason got into some stuff today on the old-fashioned. They were talking portal as we get ready for everything to open up. Tomorrow also, the recruiting hour with Jason and myself. That's at 10 a.m. Something tells me we might be talking about some visitors from last weekend. There might be a John Turntine update. KJ Edwards. We'll get into some of those names and maybe some names you haven't thought about coming up tomorrow at 10. Check out all the other content here at Orange Bloods Live. We do appreciate you guys jumping in and supporting us. We appreciate you. So have yourself a great Tuesday and get ready because the portal is coming. To those that were asking about who's going to be on the new Portal Combat intro, well, you know Nico's going to be on there. I don't know. Maybe Jaydn Ott is on there. We'll see. And maybe let's throw Emmett Mosley in there too and maybe see if we can, transpose him into some Texas gear already. We'll hopefully have that for you later in the week. We know we'll have all the talk for you later in the week. Thank you guys for jumping in. It's the Modcast. We do it Tuesdays at noon here during the springtime. And thanks again to Dalian Black for being a great partner and the sponsor of the Modcast. Each and every week, we'll finish off with their QR code up on the screen. Shout out to Daly and Black. You guys have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you next week at the same time. This is Orange Bloods Live.